Alright, this is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you, and this one's going to be pretty cool. What I'm going to do is show you guys how to use some of the greens you are growing. You know, just earlier today I was actually at a community garden, and they had a volunteer day today, and it was like a topic of the conversation when I was there cutting some roselle for cuttings that I'm going to try to root and having a video on using a cool like cloning machine. But, you know, the talk of the day was like, oh, I was going to get donuts on the way here so that everybody could eat donuts. Well, you know, for me, and, you know, I don't eat donuts, and I want to encourage you guys to eat healthier. You know, it's quite sad that I think gardeners, just like the average American, eats really crappy. Actually, if they're just buying donuts out the store, they're probably GMO, more than likely, you know, using soybean oil and some other things in there that are derived from genetically modified foods. So I really want to encourage you guys as gardeners, as people who grow your own food, to eat food out of your garden first before going to the donut shop. You know, I harvested roselle, and you could actually make some cranberry hibiscus tea with, and you know, I'd serve that instead of donuts and have a nice refreshing drink there out of the stuff grown in the garden instead of having to go to the store to get donuts. Anyways, enough of my ranting here. I got into the whole gardening thing actually because of my health, believe it or not. Long time ago, almost lost my life, for those of you guys that didn't know, and I had to figure out how to turn my health around. So what I did was I figured out that, you know, you are what you eat, just like your plants are what they eat or what you put in the soil. And I always encourage you guys to build your soil to the best of your ability. I also want to encourage you guys to eat the healthiest to your ability. And yeah, I know there's the real world, and there, you know, you're always going to snack on some stuff. But I want to have you guys focus the majority of the foods that you're eating coming out of your garden, because that's the most sustainable. It's going to be the highest quality, and it's going to be free 99 after all. And, you know, one of the things that comes up a lot is, John, how do you use some of the stuff you grow? I mean, your channel is called Growing Your Greens, and I have tons of greens behind me, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to eat the greens. It's make a salad. So what we're going to do in this episode is actually go around and harvest some of the cool exotic greens that I'm growing, and then we're gonna go inside and actually make you a dressing. And let me tell you, the dressing is the bomb, and it's all about the dressing. Like, even if the leaves don't taste good, if you got a good dressing and this one's it, you can eat the leaves and it'll taste so good. You could even get your wife and kids or your husband, you know, and family members and friends to eat it, and they'll actually like it, because the dressing, 9 people out of 10 that, you know, I gave this talk at to make this dressing, they loved it. So let's go and harvest some greens for my dinner. So the first greens I'm going to harvest right now are my purple perennial tree collards. As you guys can see, they're all right here. Now, one of the tips I want to give you guys is, you know, when you're harvesting leaves to eat for your salad, you want to get the nice, baby, delicate leaves. They're going to have a nicer, sweeter, tastier flavor. Also, the fibers are going to be much softer than the older leaves. So as you guys can see, the older leaves here are on the bottom, and they actually get quite large. And if we look here, right coming out of the middle of the plant, these are the baby leaves. So I'm just going to go and break off one off this shoot right there, and then we're going to go up over here and we're going to grab another one, and then we're going to grab another one. And I mean, you can't do this at the store. At the store, you know, if you're going to buy greens, you kind of got to buy whatever they got, or you're not eating. I like when I grow a garden, I could choose to pick which leaves I want to eat. And for when it's salad time, I'm picking the youngest, babiest leaves, man. They're going to taste the best. All right, so now we're going to harvest some leaves, some lettuce, what people standardly put in a salad. I like to have my salad of like dark leafy greens. They're much more nutritious than just the standard lettuce. There's a chart called the ANDI scoring chart, or ANDI, stands for Aggregate Nutrient Density Index, created by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. And he ranks all the foods based on a scale from 0 to 1,000, 1,000 being the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. This means that the food has more nutrition than calories, and specifically more phytochemicals and phytonutrients, vitamins and minerals per calorie. Now, we all know the standard American diet is really rich in calories, but lacks a lot of nutrients. As you process food more, the nutrition goes down and the calories go up. So I'm focusing my diet on nutrient-dense foods instead of calorie-dense foods. That's how I keep my boyish figure. Next, we're gonna harvest from a container garden that I just started planting out, and it's all ready to harvest already. This is an aqueous self-watering container. Be sure to stay tuned for an upcoming video on this guy. This guy kicks some butt. I like it a lot. And we just planted the lettuce like maybe a week ago, and the video is coming up real soon. But even though the lettuce is still rather young, because we are growing in a container, one of the things I like to do is harvest, you know, fairly well out of the container. So we're probably gonna go around and we're probably just gonna pick off like one outer leaf of every plant here. And what this is gonna do, this is gonna, number one, encourage the plant to grow faster, because it's like, oh, I got picked. Somebody's eating me. I better grow more. The other thing is gonna keep all the plants actually smaller, because if I let them get too big, they're gonna crowd everything out. So, plus I want some lettuce in my dinner. All right, so next we have the Oasis self-watering plants, and we planted a whole bunch of stuff actually just 2 days ago. But nonetheless, I want some of these unique greens in my salad for some special taste sensations. Not only can your dressing taste good, but every leaf you pick could taste totally different and light up your mouth. So next we're gonna harvest some of these guys here. Check it out. This is called a red vein sorrel. Not only does it look interesting, but they're quite edible and delicious. They actually have a nice lemon flavor, much like your standard sorrel. In addition, we're just gonna go ahead and harvest one of these leaves, and this is just your standard French sorrel. So we're gonna go ahead and just put one of each of those guys in to give my salad some zing. All right, next, more lettuce. Because it is fall time, we're just starting to plant the lettuce, and this guy's been growing pretty good. We got the growing boxes, the self-watering containers, kind of like the earth box. These have actually done quite well. We pretty much used them last winter. Kind of retired them for the summertime. They really dry out fast. Got them back out now, revamped the soil. Things can't be healthier. We planted this a couple weeks ago, and we're just gonna go ahead and harvest like a bunch of these nice oak leaf lettuce leaves. You know, like one leaf off every plant. This is why I like to grow large numbers of plants, so I won't just grow one lettuce plant and, you know, have to keep waiting until it is totally done, and then, you know, I could harvest it. I'll plant like freaking like 30 lettuce plants, man, and if I just harvest one leaf off every plant, you know, that'll make me a fairly good sized salad. Not to mention all the other greens I'll be harvesting for my salad today. Next, we're gonna harvest some herbaceous type leafy greens right here. This is known as the Huacatay. Has a really cool leaf, if you get my drift. Nice herbaceous leaf. We're gonna put that in. So I always want to encourage you guys to eat, you know, diversity in your diet. You know, each different plant I grow is because, number one, they're gonna do better at different times of the year. Like this was in a raised bed. It's been growing all summer, even in through the 114-degree weather here. And besides just, you know, being able to grow different things, and, you know, I've learned to enjoy new taste sensations, because certain things like lettuce won't really grow in the summertime, but this guy will. They also give you different phytochemicals and phytonutrients. For example, things like the brassica family, which includes broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and the allium family and the garlic and onion family, have cancer-fighting properties in there, phytochemicals in there. And each of these foods have different phytonutrients and phytochemicals that have probably yet to be researched. Does anybody know the properties on what Huacatay is good for? Next, we're gonna harvest from my garden tower. This was planted probably a week or so ago, and I'll have an upcoming episode, if not up already, about the garden tower. It's an amazing device that allows you to grow 50 plants vertically in just 4 square feet of space. It also recycles water, so it's gonna save water. It won't drip to the, you know, patio down below you if you're on a second floor. It also contains worms, so you can do vermicomposting and, you know, use your food scraps to feed the worms, which will then in turn feed the plants in here. It's a very well-designed system. And because things have been growing so well, I'm gonna harvest a few things off it. Let's see, we got some of these guys right here. This is actually called the escarole. So we got some escarole leaves here. In addition, we got some more romaine lettuce leaves coming out the side, popping out the side. Now these guys are just so dense in here, they're kind of getting shaded out. So I'm gonna help it along and harvest some of the back leaves so it could get a little more sun. Plus also, it's gonna help my stomach out. In addition, on the top, you can see we got one of my favorite greens. This is that green that Popeye likes so much, spinach. So we're just gonna go ahead and harvest a bunch of spinach for my salad tonight. All right, now we're gonna harvest one of my favorite vining greens. This guy actually grows amazing in the desert in 114-degree weather. And it's also will do well in the tropics, although come the time when it freezes, this stuff is poof, gone like the wind. All right, so what this stuff is called Malabar Spinach. And just check out how it's vined up on these tomato cages here. It just looks really cool. Now the part that's edible that I usually harvest is the leaves. So once again, we're gonna harvest the little small baby tender leaves. Now these are kind of a succulent leaf. You've never tasted anything like it before. It's a really neutral flavor, like no acridity or acidity, super delicious. The cool thing is these are now going to seed, and I have eaten the seed pods before, just like this before, but I like to let them ripen up. So what happens is they start out like this, and they're quite beautiful, and they'll turn purple. Let's see if we can find one here for you. So I found one on the bottom. They turn into like this little purple seed, and check it out. If you take the seed, you could crush it, makes a nice purple juice. And you could take that juice and do your blush. But you could also eat these, and then you save the seed, and you could save the seed and plant it for next year. In this case, I'm just gonna drop it back in the raised bed, and hopefully it'll come up and re-sprout on its own. I have been successful at doing that in the past. All right, next we're looking at yet another rare, relatively unknown leafy green. And it's right here. It's actually planted amongst the Malabar spinach that's vining up. And this guy is right here. You can see it's currently in the flower mode, and here are the little delicate flowers, and these flowers will turn into these little seed pods that then will bust open and drop seeds. This is yet another summer-only vegetable, or will grow in the tropics where it doesn't freeze. I know it as leaf ginseng. I'll have to look, but it's not related to ginseng. It actually has another nice succulent leaf that's really quite mild, and I could put a whole bunch in my salad. So we're gonna go ahead and pick a bunch of these and put in the salad. All right, next we're gonna harvest some kale. Eat more kale. So what we have right here is we have a dinosaur kale. It's been growing excessively well in the summertime here. 114-degree weather, not a problem for the dinosaur kale. Once again, you know, we want to harvest the inner leaves, so we're just going to go ahead and harvest probably like 1 or 2 inner leaves off this plant, and then we'll go for like another plant and get another 1 or 2 leaves. Now, on the outer leaves, as you guys can see, you know, I got some holes in my leaves. John, you got bugs in your garden? Yeah, man, bugs are normal. They're part of nature. Unless they're like eating all my stuff, I'm really not concerned. You know, I might come over here and try to look and find the little caterpillar or whatnot that ate them. But that's all right. And even if you didn't have all these little baby leaves to eat, you could actually just harvest your larger leaves. Now, it's going to be a little bit stronger, and I don't recommend then eating the whole leaves. What I would do is basically cut them or chiffonade them into little strips. And it would make a good salad as well, but I've done that as well. But I definitely like the smaller baby tender leaves. And for these larger leaves like this that have holes that don't look so nice, I'll actually just end up juicing them in the juicer, because the juicer don't care how they look. So next we're gonna harvest some accoutrements to the salad. Those are like additions or add-ons instead of just the leaves, because that's the main base of the salad. I like to always cut up some other things from my garden, put it on top. So one of the things, of course, is the tomatoes. As you guys can see here, I got tons of small little cherry tomatoes. The problem with the cherry tomatoes here is that these guys just don't taste good. These are the special, one of the burpee varieties that are like high antioxidants. And while it yields strong, even if they're ripe, they just still don't taste good. So, you know, I think I got some early grows in here that I'm gonna harvest instead. Here's one right here. I always want to encourage you guys to pick your tomatoes and peppers and other fruiting crops at their peak ripeness. How will you know if it's peak ripeness? Number one, the color. Obviously, if it's still green, unless it's a green tomato, it's not gonna be ready. Another thing you wanna look for, so the color, you want to also see if it just snaps off easy. I mean, it should just snap off easy. If you got to tug it and it's not coming, man, it's probably not ripe yet. So here's our one little tomato. Let's see, this guy snapped off pretty easy. Oh, and here's one back here in the thicket. underneath. I really love picking my own food. I mean, you just can't get tomatoes of this quality in the store. They just don't taste this good. All right, 4. Let's go for one more. All right, 5. We got 5 little tomatoes to go in my salad. All right, so besides just the tomatoes, I got a lot of peppers right now. So we're gonna harvest a few peppers for my salad. And once again, I want you guys to know what a ripe pepper is. So the peppers on the plant, they start out green, and like over here, here's one that's still green on the plant. And then after it's green, then it starts changing colors. So in this case, it might change from like a green to like this kind of like yellowish to like an orange. And then some people might like harvest the peppers when they're orange. John, the orange peppers are ready, right? Well, no, check it out, man. If you let the orange peppers go further, and this is the same plant, I mean, right next door, right, it'll turn red. Furthermore, once it's red, if you press gently, if it yields to gentle pressure, you know, then it's probably a bit ripe. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and just snap it off right at the base, and it should snap off fairly easy. And there we go, 1 ripe pepper to go in my salad. Next, we're gonna check out one of these guys. We got some pimento peppers. These guys are really good peppers. They're pretty thick wall. Once again, unripe, ripe, nice and red, yields to gentle pressure. And we're just gonna go ahead and pick this baby off. All right, nice little red pepper, shaped like a heart. So next we're gonna harvest the last pepper for my salad. And this is my favorite pepper, actually. As a kid, I used to eat these guys pickled. It's pickled pepperoncinis. And you know, I don't eat them pickled anymore. I like to eat them fresh, even more than pickled. Although I want to pickle some of mine one of these days, but I never have any left over at the end of the year because I eat them all. So let's see, we're gonna have to kind of like dig back in here, but check it out. When these pepperoncinis are ripe, they actually turn kind of like red and shriveled. So we're just gonna go ahead and break some of these guys off, and they're so small, you could just eat these seeds and all in the salad. So we're just gonna go ahead and break a bunch of these guys off. I mean, this plant yields so much. I mean, look at this. So many different peppers all ready to eat. Reminds me of a nursery rhyme. Peter Piper picked pickle peppers. How many peppers did Peter Piper pick? All right, so I got some pepperoncinis, some regular peppers, all my greens. Now we're gonna go inside and make a delicious dressing. All right, so we're inside, got everything harvested, washed, cleaned, chopped, and ready for you guys to show you guys how I'm gonna make this delicious dressing that's gonna almost guarantee anybody's gonna like your greens and like greens if they don't already. So as you guys can see, the heart of the salad, literally, is the greens. We got 3/4 of a pound here, man. Quarter pounder? Nope. 3/4 pounder, baby. And I think and believe that the salad should be your main meal. If you want to eat other things, have smaller portions. But, you know, most Americans are deficient in eating their fruits and vegetables. And I do not want gardeners to be deficient in eating fruits and vegetables because they're growing it and they should be eating the most of it because it's coming from their garden instead of the grocery store. So in order to eat the greens, we're going to make a delicious dressing. This is probably one of my favorite dressings I love to make, and it's super simple, super easy. Anyone can make it. The ingredients we're going to need are, number 1, lemon juice. This is a lemon tahini miso dressing. So first you'll need lemon juice. We simply juiced 2 lemons to get this juice, just a standard size lemon. We're going to go ahead and put this in the blender. Now you don't necessarily need a blender to do this. You can actually do this with just a fork and a whisk. A whisk, is that like a lisp? So next we'll need a liquid. Today we're actually going to use coconut water. You could use filtered water, or you could use like orange juice, which I have in the past. The orange juice will kind of change the recipe a little bit, kind of make it less lemony, more kind of orangey and a little bit sweeter, which is kind of cool. But I like to use the coconut water because it's nature's purified water. It comes from a plant. So the water goes up through the thousands of cells in the coconut palm, filters it, and puts the water into the coconut, much like it does with fruits and vegetables. So we got 3/4 of a cup of the coconut water. The next few ingredients are critical for making this work. The first one is the tahini. So this is the tahini that I recommend and I like. It's the organic and alive sesame tahini from Living Tree Community Foods. This is a standard tahini. It's a raw tahini, so this is different than most tahinis you might buy at the grocery store. They've been roasted and actually ground up at high speed and will have oil separation at the top. With this tahini, they use a special technique where they actually slice the sesame seeds and then they go back the next day and then re-grind them to make a nice, delicious tahini. I've never tasted a better tahini anywheres. So they have the standard white tahini here, and then they also have a special black tahini, which is really cool. You could do that if you like making a dressing for Halloween, for example. It can be nice and dark and black. It actually kind of turns out gray instead of black, so it's a nice gray dressing, which might freak some people out. Now, if you don't want to get the tahini, which is nice because you can just take a whisk and a fork and literally mix this up in a bowl without a blender. If you do have a high power blender, such as the Try This Dynablend blender, and if you are looking for a blender, juicer, or other kitchen appliance to allow you to process your fruits and vegetables at home, definitely recommend you guys check out my website, discountjuicers.com. That's how I keep the lights on and it keeps me gardening. But if you do have a high power blender, you can actually also buy sesame seeds for this recipe, because a high power blender with some water will blend the sesame seeds literally into the paste, into the tahini dressing that we're making today. If you have a standard blender, just buying the sesame seeds in a standard blender that does not run that fast, that does not have a sharp blade, will not fully fractionate the seeds and turn it into a nice cream sauce like we're doing. The Living Tree community also offers the organic white sesame seeds, and these are the hulled sesame seeds. That's the kind I recommend you guys use. If you get the unhulled actually kind of tastes more bitter, so I like that they use the white sesame seeds that are less bitter. Nice, rich tahini flavor. Tahini's rich in vitamin E and antioxidants, which is really cool. Also, they got the black sesame seeds, which is also pretty rare. And the cool thing is you could actually take these black sesame seeds and plant them out in your garden to have your own black sesame plants. And then collect and save your seeds, so then you don't have to buy tahini or buy the sesame seeds. You could just grow them. So yes, definitely love sesame seeds. One of my favorite seeds. So I love the sesame seeds, and literally the tahini is just ground up seeds. So it's kind of like a nut butter, but it's a seed butter. Super delicious. So we're going to need to put in approximately a ½ cup of tahini into our blender here. So we're just going to go ahead and measure out what I think is about a ½ cup. Alright, so that's about a ½ cup of tahini right into the blender. The next ingredient is this stuff right here. This is a chickpea miso. So the miso is a fermented, traditionally soy condiment from Japan. This is actually made without soy, with chickpeas, and it's rich in enzymes and nutrition. It also adds a nice salty, kind of complex flavor. So what we're going to need for this is we're going to need about 1 tablespoon of the chickpea miso, and got that in the blender. Alright, so besides the miso, we're going to use another important ingredient. This is garlic. This is garlic I grew and harvested earlier in the year. And depending on the size of the garlic, you're going to use like 1 or 2 cloves, or to flavor. If you're like Italian, then you'll probably put the whole thing in. I'm not, so I'm probably going to just put 1 or 2 cloves in there. Alright, so here's our 2 cloves right in the blender. So that should be it for all the ingredients for the salad dressing. The next thing we're going to do is blend. We're going to go ahead and put the top on. And let's see, we're just going to turn this up. I like to turn the blender up on slow to start out with, and then turn it up to high. Alright, that's all it takes in the Dynablend blender. The next thing is we got to prepare the rest of our salad. So I already washed the greens, but one of the things I really like to do, because you know my mouth is not that large, I can't fit the whole leaf in my mouth. I like to chop this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take out the washed salad from my garden here, and we're just going to go ahead and take a knife and we're just going to chop this up into smaller pieces so it's easier to digest. One of the things that's very important that I want you guys to remember is when eating especially leafy greens or vegetables from your garden, you want to make sure you chew it adequately. You might be thinking, John, what is adequately when chewing? Well, think about it. We give babies baby food, right? Why do we give babies baby food? Yeah, they don't have teeth. Because they don't have teeth, they need to eat things in a mush-like consistency. Now think about it. Because we have teeth, every mouthful of food we eat, we're supposed to turn into a mush. So this means you're supposed to chew like 50, times each mouthful. I know the average American probably is like my dad and chews about 6 times and swallows. And when you're swallowing whole, pieces of lettuce and some of the dark leafy greens, literally it goes in one side, comes out the other end, so you're not getting nutrition from it. So it's best to turn your food into a mush. So instead of sitting there and turning my food into a mush in my mouth, I like to get a head start, man. I like to get head starts on things, you know what I'm saying? And so what we're going to do is we're just going to take the knife here, and I like to use a ceramic knife. They're nice and sharp. And we're just going to go ahead and simply just, go down and cut off all the leaves. What this also does is we're going to mix this up in the bowl, so now when we're eating this whole mixed salad with all kinds of different leaves, we're not just like, oh, we just got a piece of lettuce now, and now we got a piece of Malabar spinach, and now we got a piece of kale. It's all going to be mixed up, and I think I pretty much put like a good percentage of lettuce to the other greens in here, so it's going to be fairly mild mix and not be too hardcore. That being said, I like the lemon tahini miso dressing because the acid in the lemon and the flavor of the tahini kind of drowns out, oh, and don't forget the garlic, really drowns out the taste of the leafy greens, and you just taste delicious dressing goodness. So I'm really kind of hungry after a long day and doing this video for you guys. I can't wait to eat my dinner. Alright, so I think I got all this salad chopped. Next we're going to go ahead and drop her in the bowl. When we get it in the bowl, we're going to mix it up really good. Alright, last of the salad right into my bowl. And yes, this is just for me. This is not for my family that I don't have. This is just a personal size salad. My salad is my main meal. I mean, it comes from my garden. I literally wouldn't want to be eating anything else. And once again, I want to remind you guys, use things like rock dust, worm castings, compost to enrich your soils, and your food is going to taste better than anything you could buy. Be sure to check my past episodes where I talk about growing the highest quality and best tasting foods by using a refractometer to figure out where you're at, and so that you can actually dial in what you're growing even further and make it the best. So now that we got the salad all ready, now we're going to pour on the dressing. So we're just going to go ahead and take off the blender top here. Nice and creamy dressing. We're just going to go ahead and pour this baby out right over the top of it. Feel free to add a little bit more of the tahini if you want a little bit thicker dressing. And I always like to use a little spatula to get all the delicious dressing goodness out of the blender. Alright, so now that we got all the dressing out, what we're going to do is we're going to put on our accoutrements. So what we got here for our accoutrements are tomatoes and the peppers that you saw me pick earlier. Now the tomatoes and peppers alone are over a pound. So this is 1 3/4 pound salad right here. So we're going to go ahead and put our tomatoes over up on the top here. Next, the peppers. Now I cut up the peppers, de-seeded them, except for the little peppercini peppers, which I kept the seeds because that'll kind of give it a little bit of hot, spicy flavor for me. So we got our peppers and tomatoes on the top, and finally, from the garden, I always like to make it look pretty. So I don't have a girl to give these to, but I could pull these guys out, and we're just gonna sprinkle the petals over the top. And these are the marigolds that actually I interplanted with tomatoes. It's good for like the pests. Plus, the marigolds are edible. They're actually high in lutein and zeaxanthin, which are really good for your eyes. So eat some marigold flowers. Alright, these petals are really cool. They have an interesting taste too, but we're not like eating a salad of marigold petals. Just putting a few over the top. All right, so check it out. There's a nice, delicious salad. Next step, try it. All right, get some of that delicious dressing. Some tomatoes. Homegrown goodness. Mmm. Wow. I've never had a salad so delicious. You guys definitely got to try this recipe. Lemon tahini dressing will make all your greens taste so good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode learning how I use some of the greens I grow by making a simple lemon tahini dressing to enjoy a nice salad for dinner. Once again, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep on growing. Alright, this is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and I just got a new toy in the mail. It's right here, check it out. This is actually called the